Hello, Internet! We are on Showdown again, but we're not going to be doing any games because, hello, Lajo.
Hello.
Hello, we are going to be looking over Lajo's ever popular Groudon Ho-Oh team. So, you've been waiting for it. Here we are. So, well, I suppose let's go over the history of the team first, I guess.
Yeah, good
Let's
point.
tell us all about it.
Okay, so first things first. You might know my teams from 2013 and 2014, and I used um, a Sun team in 2013, which got top eight.
Yeah, with the
That's
Ninetales, that wasn't it?
Yeah, right. That was a Ninetales,
Yeah, that's still one of
and
my favorite teams. That one with Power Swap as well.
yeah, it was pretty nice. And in 2014, in the end of 2014, I played a bit with GOTHITELLE. And these two teams were pretty much my play style. And I like defensive teams which can keep on switching and stuck around for more than 10 turns, and where I can have the control over the board. And with Gothitelle, I saw some potential to have the bot control, and yeah, now just needed options to overcome the huge threats in the restricted Pokemon, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I mean it's a very different format now.
So I had to decide between Groudon and Kyogre here, or to use both. And I saw in Groudon a pretty good Pokemon because it's it's not hopeless against other Groudons, right? You can Earth Power them to get a knockout, and yeah, also you are pretty good against Kyogre if you can keep the sun up. And that's basically the idea of Gothitelle and Groudon. And yeah, with Gothitelle, I surely wanted to have a trick room mode, and seeing how popular Groudon Xerneas was, and how good the combination of fire, ground, and fairy attacks is, my mega of choice was Mawile at first. So that's three Pokemon, and to make a Trick Room mode work, you of course need something to get Trick Room up, right? And that's how Scrafty come in play, because with Scrafty I have more defensive switches. I can fake out to get Trick Room up, and Scrafty has a pretty nice tool here. Maybe we just start over with Scrafty here, because basically that
Yeah, well,
was
yeah. We're looking
uh,
at Scrafty now. One of your
yeah,
three intimidators.
yeah. Let's have a look at Scrafty first. So Scrafty has Fake Out to support Gothitelle in getting up Trick Room, and with the nice item Assault Vest, it is pretty bulky. And yeah, in 2015, I think it got Super Fang as a nice attack, and yeah, that works pretty nice against the restricted Pokemon because it does 50% to all of them, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a Lugia or a Weedle. It will do 50%.
Yeah, and basically the rest of of the set is pretty standard and straightforward. I invested everything in attack to get as much damage output as
Yeah,
possible.
I'm a little bit surprised to see like 252 max attack. To be honest, I thought it would be a bit of a bulkier one.
Yeah, I thought I about a bulkier Scrafty at first too, but it needs to do damage. If I have Gothitelle and Scrafty out on the field, and Scrafty doesn't do damage, mm, I only have two more Pokemon left that
Yeah,
can do some damage, and
yeah. You didn't want
I
it to be
didn't
too
want
passive, I
that.
suppose.
I also had Ice Punch over Knockoff first, and used it in the German National. but it wasn't as useful as I hoped it would be, because Mega Salamence only takes like 55% even with max attack and yeah, -1
Yeah,
Scrafty.
yeah.
And Rayquaza just Mega evolves and survives the Ice Punch
Yeah,
as well, right?
and just laughs at it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I decided to use Knockoff now just for Cresselias because they they are pretty nasty and I can't touch them otherwise, at least for super effective damage.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
also Knockoff, I mean, it also does some nice damage to Rayquaza and yeah,
and Bronzong as well, which is ever
yeah,
so popular even still.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bronzong was something that yeah, got a lot of popularity in the last months as well. So yeah, Knockoff is a good choice here.
Indeed.
Okay, yeah, I think that's it for Scrafty.
Okay, shall we have a look at Salamence?
Oh right, because wait, before we go to Salamence, Scrafty can survive a Water Spout from Kyogre, but not two Hyper Voices from Salamence. That's not so. Um, it's not so.
It's a bit too much for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not of a It's not much of a problem because it just goes down, and I can get something that dishes out more damage in. That's
Yeah.
basically the idea. If I put more in special defense, for example, and it survives two Hyper Voices, then I have still two weak Pokemon on the field, and 2 turns of Trick Room are gone.
Yeah, you're not taking
I got,
advantage of it. Yeah.
yeah, basically, I want Scrafty to survive 1 turn to get a Super Fang off, or maybe 2 turns, but not 3 turns.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Scrafty, your time is limited.
yeah, exactly. Okay, and before Scrafty finally faints, I like to switch it out and later bring it in again to get some nice Intimidate or maybe even another Fake Out support off. So that works quite nice here.
Yeah, just a little note as well. Scrafty did win the Australian National too, didn't it?
I can't remember the full team, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
Guy
like a
told
Big
me.
Six team with Scrafty. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah, cool.
So there you go.
Yeah, and I thought Scrafty, okay, in this format it might be scared by Xerneas, and yeah,
But when you've got Groudon, Ho-Oh, and Mawile on the same team,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So Scrafty should have a nice day even in this format because I wouldn't necessarily bring it against teams with Xerneas. I
Yeah.
have other options there.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of other options, we should have a look into Salamence.
Okay, here it is. Yep.
And Salamence is basically your standard Salamence. It has max speed and max special attack. No investment in attack because um, I I figured with 4 HP and the maximum investment in special attack, I have the highest chance to not only survive 2 Hyper Voices, but also kill opposing Salamences with 2 Hyper Voices.
Yeah.
Uh,
Interesting to see that this one is hasty.
yeah, it's hasty because with what's the other nature?
Naive. The
With a
special defense
naive
one, yeah.
nature, um, it always goes down to 2 Hyper Voices from Salamences.
Yeah, and
And
Rogue Hidden Power Isis and stuff like that too.
yeah,
And
and
even Whim's got Moonblasts.
and Groudon eruptions and something like that
Yeah.
does way more damage. So in a format with so many special attacks that dishes out so much damage, um, hasty is the superior nature on Salamence, I think. And in a team with so much intimidate, even more so, because I would survive the physical attacks anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
It might be a bit contradictory to its huge bulk in defense because I lose so much points, but it pays off, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one thing that sticks out about this Salamence, really, aside from the hasty nature, and that's Substitute.
Right, substitute. So, um, mainly as a filler because it it's just here because I needed a fourth move that helps me to support the team, and I had the choice between substitute and tailwind, and with tailwind I would have another tailwind Pokemon. We will have a look into the other one later,
Yeah.
and would be able to pick a core without Ho-Oh, but still have a Tailwind mode. And with Substitute, I have another option to combat something like Smeargle or Leech Seed shenanigans.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
true, but yeah.
And if they are
Um,
just trying to, double protect out of
Yeah.
your tailwind turns, you can take advantage of that too.
Or I can play around. I can maybe if I have Groudon and Salamence out, which is not rarely the case, it's pretty often the case, and I am able to knock out both of my opponent Pokemon with an eruption. I can make use of that and just put in a substitute,
Yeah.
or even if my opponent wants to stall out the last turn of Trick Room and I have a Salamence in, maybe it's paralyzed, I can make use of that and use Substitute to not have a lost turn, but I got something from it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Substitute helped in a bit more situations than Tailwind, and that's why I chooses to use Substitute here.
Yeah.
But I probably use the other three moves in 99%.
Yes. Yeah.
of the
You weren't
games.
tempted with, I don't know, like Roar or Giga Impact?
No.
Just a flat no. Well, all right then. Well, are we anything else with Salamence?
um, Salamence is a pretty good counter to Groudon. That's why I choose it for the team.
Yeah.
With Mawile as my only Mega, I would be pretty weak to Groudons. So if I see a big 6 team, I almost always lead with Salamence and Ho-Oh because this gives me the best, the best lead option because the Groudons on big 6 teams not often have a rock move, and even if they do, Salamence is so speedy that it just helps me to get some chip damage off first, and I can bring Gothitelle and Groudon in the back to have a trick room afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shall we move on to Gothitelle then?
Yeah. Right. Good
Here
point.
it is. Yeah.
Gothitelle. My lovely, lovely Gothitelle. Morgentess in Germany. So yeah, this is the set I also used back in 2014. It has almost everything in special defense, and some in defense, but I can't remember what I wanted to survive, but I know it survives Jolly Kangaskhan Double Edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was it. I'm not sure. Maybe it was Jolly Rayquaza Dragon Ascent even. But yeah, I can survive the nearly strongest physical attacks with it anyways. And just wanted to have much much more special defensive Gothitelle because I have so many
Yeah,
intimidates
that's
yet.
right. Yeah, yeah.
And with this much special defense, and yeah, I can survive Water Spout from Kyogre, which is probably the strongest attack I can think of right now.
Yeah, on the special side, pretty much, yeah. Or like a Life Orb, Draco Meteor from Mega Rayquaza, which
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure this would still survive as well.
yeah,
With
yeah,
ease, yeah.
yeah, with these. Um, yeah, I think Water Spout does around 80%. So, yeah. And yeah, you see the item is leftovers. I
Yeah,
told
yeah, when we were
you.
doing some games the other week, we
Yeah.
had a little bit of a conversation about leftovers or mental herb or, different items that could be used. So, why did you go with leftovers?
So you might remember the game against the Scarfed Mamoswine and Rayquaza.
Yeah, that was a few
And
Mondays ago, yeah.
yeah, again, and like this was a perfect example where leftovers was so good because my Gothita survived many moves and was, I think it was on the edge of dying twice,
Mm.
but with the leftovers it was able to hang around a bit more. And leftovers helps me in probably every game a bit, and Mental Herb would help me just against Crobat and
And Thunderous.
maybe Thunderous.
Yeah.
Not even every Thunderous has Taunt anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And in these kind of teams, I can just pick 5 other Pokemon, right? I don't even need Gothitelle to work with this team. Like if I see a team with double Primates, with Cresselia and Thunderous, I hesitate to bring Gothitelle because they could have Skill Swap, they could have Taunt, and I still have Tailwind, Groudon, and something slow for Trick Room, so I can work in every mode they try
Yeah, yeah. Whichever
to
way they
get
want to go,
work.
yeah.
And I can also have Gothitelle in the back and just start with Groudon to get rid of Thunderous and Crobats, things like that. The probably only team I can think of which is a problem with this set is Ray Ogre with a Crobat or a Gengar.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it's a bit tricky to get Trick Room up, but it's needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm always surprised each year how little usage Gothitelle gets, because I do think it is a fantastic Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's not my style at all, but I mean, like you said, this is very your style of team, and just the ability to trap things in is so good, especially when switching is so important with the weathers this year.
Yeah, in this format, Gothitelle really shines, in my opinion, because you just can't switch safely in this format without sacrificing something. It just seems like that. Water Spout does 50% even to some Ferrothorns, and
Yeah,
there are no safe switch-ins. You always have to sacrifice something. But with Gothitelle, I have a pretty good chance to just start off the game with it, and maybe my opponent has a good lead, something like Smurgle and Kyogre and Rayquaza in the back, but when I start with Gothitelle and maybe Salamence, I can just bring Groudon in and not have to fear Rayquaza, right? So
yeah. I mean, I think if
I
like
have, yeah, I have a lot more safe switches with Gothitelle on the field.
I think the first impression someone would get looking at your team is it looks pretty weak to Kyogre. So in that way, the Gothitelle is really important to make sure you do control the weather.
Yeah, exactly. Without Gothitelle, I couldn't compete Kyogre.
Yeah,
But the option to bring the sun safely in and keep the sun safely in allows me to just run over it, basically.
yeah, yeah. There's not many things that will just one-shot Gothitelle. I suppose Yveltal is maybe one of the few things.
Yeah.
Maybe
Nice.
Scizor, but I mean, you have got lots of Intimidates. I mean, I'm sure this Gothitelle can probably survive a Life Orb Dark Pulse from an Yveltal, so
Yes, it
even
can.
still, yeah.
Yes. It will survive a knockoff at -2.
Okay, yeah.
And against Yveltal teams, I usually also pick 2 Intimidates, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not really hard to pull off. So yeah, Gothitelle helps me to compete Kyogre teams, and with the Heal Pulse, I can keep my Groudon healthy and yeah, make Eruption better work.
Yeah.
I also opted for Psychic here as the attacking move for a really important combo that I couldn't show off during our sets, but it often comes that I lead with Gothitelle and Scrafty, and my opponent leads with Groudon and something like Salamence. So then my game plan is to fake out the Groudon and set up Trick Room. Usually my opponent goes for a Hyper Voice, and in the next turn I go for Super Fang with Scrafty. This will bring Groudon under 50%, and I usually protect the Gothitelle. So if Scrafty goes down and the Groudon is under 50%, I can bring in my Mawile instead of Groudon, because um, now I have 2 Pokemon that are also again slower than the Groudon, and I also have my weather in the back. So if my opponent has a Kyogre and a Groudon in his team, this allows me to keep the weather up safely
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also knock out the Groudon for 90%. Yeah, we will get the last piece, Mawile, at the end of this, but yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
With Psychic and Rock Slide, I do more than 50% to Groudons.
Yes, it's always nice to have an offensive option. If you didn't have
Yeah,
Psychic, then it would be a little bit of a sitting duck, I suppose.
and Psychic does almost 1/3 to offensive Groudons with
Yeah,
no investment,
yeah,
which is pretty nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, are we going to move on to Groudon?
yeah. Let's go to Groudon then.
There we go. So this is a pretty strange mixed Groudon, isn't it?
Yeah, the probably most interesting set and the star of the team, my Groudon, my special mixed Groudon.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, you might can already guess what this set does.
Yeah, it survives, I presume, a modest or quiet Groudon Earth Power. It will
Exactly.
always survive a Precipice Blade. Um,
Yes.
the special attack, is that for anything? Or is it just a dump?
Um, it's most likely a dump. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it has a good chance to one-shot Kangaskhan's without investment,
Yeah.
but it's just what was left for.
Yes.
I mean, I could run even bulkier set, because this set um, only survives quite or modest Groudon Earth powers um, in 15 out of 16 games
Ah,
or
okay.
chances.
Yeah, yeah.
So the highest roll is not uh, able to survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that this way I have 2 more points for the special attack.
Yeah, I was just gonna note that. Yeah, you've hit the bump there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
I do know that you need max special defense, so 108 hit points and max special defense to survive all Earth powers. But yeah, you've
yes.
nicely hit the bump with your special attack, so I don't blame you there.
Yeah, exactly the bump, yeah. And you also might notice that I do not have a min speed Groudon. It is quite, but it has 31 IVs
Yeah, so a
in
speed of
speed.
99.
Yes. and this is because I also run Tailwind. And if I would run a Min Speed Groudon here, it would not be able to outspeed Salamence, Mega Salamence in Tailwind. So if I have a Min Speed Groudon, I'm not able to outspeed Rayquazas and Salamence, but with 31, I am able to.
So how many times did you end up setting up Trick Room and an opposing Groudon came in and they happened to be slower than your Groudon in Trick Room and that didn't work for you? Did that happen very often?
Sometimes it happens. Most often it happens against dual primal teams.
Yeah.
And yeah, they tend to have a Min Speed Groudon here.
Yeah, it's a nasty game really when you never know, especially in best of one when you never know what speed they're all running at.
I mean, that's true, but it also means that I almost always know which Groudon is faster in the second or third game.
Yeah, that's right. And if they are even slower, then you don't even have to bother with your Trick Room.
Yeah, I don't have to bother with speed ties here.
Yeah.
No Groudon looks like mine, I think, and this is pretty good for me because I'd like to maximize my chances, and after game 1 I know exactly what the Groudon my opponent has is, and he doesn't know which one is faster or slower.
Yeah.
Because he has to fear I'm min speed or max speed.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, looking at your team, you would assume that the Groudon is very slow.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, for the moveset, I opted to go for Precipice Blades as my third move. I mean, Eruption and Earth Power are
Yeah, the main attacks, yeah. Especially with the heal pulse, that's why Eruption works so well. Yeah.
I didn't have to think much about the special moves, but Precipice Blades was chosen because oftentimes my opponent has a Gravity up, and I'd like to have option to hit both Pokemon. I can avoid Follow Me shenanigans. I remember my set against Till in Germany, where he had a Clefable and Groudon out, and yeah, just with the Precipice Blades, with 2 Precipice Blades, I was able to knock out his Groudon before it could knock out my Groudon. So yeah, that's one situation where it came handy. And I mean, Groudon has such a high attack stat.
Yes, huge.
I just wanted to make use of it.
Were you never tempted to use Thunder or Thunderbolt?
No.
You're not a fan of those moves?
No, Thunderbolt wasn't an option here. I know I wanted Precipice Blades, and it's a really good choice.
Yeah, I think so. And actually, I think Arash used a Groudon just like this as well, didn't he? On his Evoltol team, mixed with both
he
of
had
the
a Max Speed
spoons.
Groudon. Yeah, he had a Max Speed Groudon, but it was with the same moveset.
Yeah. So, well, there you go. I mean, it clearly does work, this moveset. Because people like the third move on Groudon is only normally something from a from a small sort of selection of moves, something like Substitute or Swords Dance or Hidden Power Ice or Thunderbolt or Thunder. Having it mixed like this, it's a surprise. I think you can probably catch people off guard.
Yeah, that's true. I did that many times, and I just thought about another reason for Precipice Blades, and that's opposing Xerneas, which are already boosted.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. Still a 3-hit KO, I'd imagine though.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done with Groudon?
Yeah, we are done with Groudon.
Okay.
So, let's go to
Here's
Ho-Oh.
our favourite colourful little bird here.
Yeah, my Ho-Oh.
And
So,
another interesting script, yeah. Okay.
yeah, this is a pretty interesting spread. I mean, the item is clear because Lumberry helps me to combat Smeargle, and that's pretty much the main reason I have Ho-Oh on the team.
Yeah, a restricted Pokemon that can hold an item.
A restricted Pokemon that can hold an item. It also fares pretty well against Xerneas and Groudons. So yeah, it helps a lot against Big Six teams and Smeargle mainly. And this moveset helps me to survive a Life Orb Dragon Ascent from Rayquaza. From Adamant Rayquazas, it's not 100%, but a good chance to survive. And it also survives Kangaskhan Double Edge, even Adamant Kangaskhan Double Edge. So it's yeah.
Yeah, it is a pretty bulky Pokemon, though.
Yeah, that's true. But its physical bulk is not that great. So I had to invest a bit in defense.
Yeah.
And the 188 points in attack assure that I can 2-hit KO Xerneas with Brave Bird. At least the non-bold ones. Also Xerneas that are able to survive Gyro Ball from Ferrothorn are not able to survive two Brave Birds from this whole.
Yeah, and Xerneas are getting bulkier these days.
And of course, that also means it's a 2-hit KO on Kangaskhan's, and it also 3-hit KOs every non-bulky Groudon.
Yeah, that's quite nice. Yeah.
That's pretty nice, yeah. I got this spread from Simon, so shout outs to Simoninho here. So yeah, I liked the spread and it worked quite well for me. The speed is just to speed creep.
Yeah. Yeah, any of the base 90s that have got 4 in speed.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And for the moveset, Brave Birds and Sacred Fires are the steps, so no.
Yeah, Sacred Fire is nice, and I think it did happen in one of the games as well, where we didn't want to Sacred Fire in case we did it into a King Shield or a Spiky Shield or something, because it doesn't contact, which is nice.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It helps. And the 50% burn chance is
yeah.
Good. And the Tailwind is here because in Ho-Oh I saw not only a pretty good way to deal with Xerneas and Groudon, but only to support my team. Because with the Tailwind I have a fast mode, and this team needs a fast mode. Without the Tailwind I would struggle a lot against fast teams that are able to shut down Trick Room.
Yes.
And yeah, that's why I like Ho-Oh and Salamence as a lead, because I can just Tailwind and fire off a powerful Hyper Voice right from the start and be able to outspeed and also don't take a lot of damage. If my opponent leads something like Talonflame and Groudon, it's absolutely delicious.
No, yeah, especially with the Salamence, yeah, but
they don't do any damage, and I am in such a good position.
Yeah, Ho-Oh is just a beefier Talonflame, really.
Yes, and if something goes down, my Groudon in the back is able to erupt and get a lot of damage off in Tailwind, which is pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we did touch on the Lumberry as well, didn't we? Yeah, to help with Smeargle, and
yes,
that the sort of insurance leading with the Salamence and the Ho-Oh there.
Yeah. Against against Xerneas and Smeargle, I can just go for something like Tailwind and Hyper Voice, and if they try to Geomancy, I am still faster next turn, and I also outspeed the Smeargle with my Ho-Oh. So
Yes.
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, and if the Smeargle is scarfed, and the Salamence will always burn a turn of sleep straight away, then you'll have the 1 in 3 chance of waking up next turn as well, which is quite nice too,
Yes.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I don't, Groudon comes in and finishes off the Smeargle.
Yes. Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's about Ho-Oh.
Are we going to go on to Mawile, or is there anything
Yeah.
else? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can go to Mawile then.
Okay.
And this is almost the same Mawile I was running in the German National in 2014.
With your
Test-
Gudra Trevenant team, if anyone remembers that.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that very well.
Yeah. This Mawile has Rock Slide as a move and not Iron Head. The reason for that was pointed out earlier because it is a pretty important piece for my way to beat Groudons.
Yeah. And Player Off still does a lot of damage to Xerneas with its Fairy Aura.
Exactly. Usually it one-shots Xerneas, but if it's a pretty bulky one, it can survive, yeah.
Yeah. And then it will definitely be in Sucker Punch range.
Yeah, it should be, yes. It
Yeah.
should be. So this spread is something a bit bulkier. I opted to go for this spread because the Kyogre Wolf Glick pointed out in his report. You might remember it. It had 76 special attack IVs with, I think, a modest nature.
Okay.
And this Mawile will survive an Origin Pulse from this kind of Kyogre in 80% of the time.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a pretty nice way to deal with these Kyogres.
Yeah.
And it was really handy in my set against Lega in the German Nationals this year. It was exactly this situation where I had my Mawile out against his Kyogre, and I had a Ho-Oh out as well, or it was a Groudon. Yeah, Groudon. Groudon and Mawile against the Kyogre in rain. And my Mawile was at full HP, and he went for Origin Pulse, and my Mawile survived with 7 HP. And knocked out the Kyogre with the Play Rough afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the bulk was pretty handy, and I'm glad I decided to go for this spread. The attack is still enough to, does what it does.
Yeah, I mean, Mawile with huge power is just such. I mean, it always has been since it was since Mega Mawile was released. It just hits so hard.
Yeah, but it needs to be this kind of offensive because you might don't believe it, but if it's at -1, Yveltal has a good chance to survive play roughs from bulky Mawiles.
Yeah. That's right.
I need to knock out Yveltals with this Mawile.
Yes, and I suppose like we were talking about with the Scrafty as well, you need to have the offense to actually take advantage of your Trick Room turns.
Yeah, that's true. And the Rock Slide would also do 2 Groudons to ensure I get the knockout if it's under 50%.
Yeah.
If I would run less attack on this Mawile.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, obviously it does help with Talonflame as well. That's why I started using Rock Slide on Mawile back in 14. Because when you get the Trick Room up, you can just Rock Slide all over it. And it's not a common move, or not a super common move anyway on Mawile. So it can potentially catch things off guard.
Oh, and another point for using Rock Slide. I would be pretty much hopeless against Ho-Oh without it.
I was actually just thinking about that. Yeah. Talking about Talonflame, if you came across another Ho-Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ho-Oh runs all over me without having Rock Slide.
Yeah, you would need Trick Room, and you would need to get the Rock Slide off.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm imagining like I wonder if your Ho-Oh can survive your Mawile's Rock Slide spread damage. You don't think so?
No, it can't.
Okay.
Oh, it's just too strong. Yeah, so that's for Mawile and for the team.
Yeah.
Any
So,
questions?
opening the panel. Okay. Well, um, like how long were you working on this team? Because you didn't play much this format. So how long did you actually prepare this team? How long were you preparing it?
Yeah, I mean, you are right. I didn't play this season at all, except for nationals, and that's where I started to yeah, to build a team. 2 weeks before the German national,
Wow. So this team
I
took 2 weeks to build. That's not long, really.
that's not long. I mean, I if I have a good idea, it comes per a night, and this was my probably best idea I had in one of these nights, and I started to build the team. Um, I I can't remember if I got anything else in these six. I don't think so. I think I had just these 6 months in mind, and had just to tweak the attacks and stats a bit.
Yeah.
So that was the idea, and then I already started to practice with the team. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think I had Iron Head on Mawile before, but then I faced a Ho-Oh, and I thought, okay, I need Rock Slide.
Yeah.
Then I faced some Smurgles, and I know I needed Lumberry on Ho-Oh. I also struggled against fast teams, so I was sure to have Tailwind on my Ho-Oh. And yeah, I also tried out Gravity Gothitelle with Sword Stance Precipice Blades Groudon. The issue with that was that it needs another turn to set up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need a turn to set up Trick Room and another turn to set up Gravity.
Yeah.
And in this turn, I also need to set up Sword Stance on Groudon. So
Yeah.
it was too much setup, and um, I basically had only one turn to go through with my attacks, and
Yeah.
that
And like, I mean, just
was
just before we started recording this, we did sort of talk a little bit about gravity teams, and that is
yeah,
one of the reasons why I don't really like the Meowstic sort of version of gravity, because if you can get your Groudon set up, then that's fantastic. You've maybe got 2 turns to hit them in Trick Room before Trick Room ends again. With a fast Groudon, then you are still threatening. Trick Room is not going to end because you're not reliant on it. So
yeah,
I can see what
yeah,
you're saying there.
yes.
So
I I also
yeah,
played Eloy at the German National, and he also had a Gothitelle team, but with double primals, and he had Gravity Gothitelle,
ah,
but he couldn't make it work. I just won both games because he couldn't set up both Gravity and Trick Room properly.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, with the Heal Pulse option, I can hit fast and strong. And I also have a healthy Groudon out of Trick Room afterwards, right?
yeah.
So I can even win if Trick Room ends, because my Groudon will
Yeah, it can at
almost
least take
always
a
have
hit. Yeah,
all HP left. And even if it comes down to Groudon versus Groudon in the end, my Groudon wins because it survives the earth power of the fast Groudons.
yes, yes. So maybe this is a little bit of a cheeky question then, but let's say just let's say you did get a flight to day 2 of Worlds. Would you be using a team like this?
Um, well, good question. I mean, I wouldn't go to Worlds anyway because I couldn't
Yeah,
with my job. But if I would be something like um, Yoshi or Billa, and had a choice to run a team there, I mean, it would be something similar. but um, I
What do you
think I wouldn't.
expect? What do you think people will be using it, Wills? Do you think it will be a lot of Xerneas Groudon?
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And
I think general
yeah,
consensus is a lot of Xerneas Groudon. Yeah.
and this team doesn't really like Gravity Bronzong with Hypnosis, so it
Yeah.
surely has some weak spots.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it is really, really fun to play with, and I quite enjoyed playing with this team at the Nationals. But I think to win the World Championships, you need something that um, is even more versatile than this.
You
I mean,
think?
I just try to go for Trick Room and Heal Pulse Eruption. I mean, I also have a Tailwind mode, but I I think there are more teams that are even more versatile, like the Dual Primals team with Bronzong, just as one example, has many more options like this,
Okay.
I think.
Do you think this team could be improved anymore then? Like, if you were going to use this team, is there anything that sort of stands out that you think, all right, I would change that?
I mean, in hindsight, I would give Smurgle a chance for Scrafty, maybe, because it fits the same role, but people will be a bit more scared, I guess.
Yeah.
And I would have an option to, if I have a special move set that surprises people, maybe it can do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think with Gothitelle, Groudon and Ho-Oh really are the best duo here. I wouldn't say Groudon and Kyogre is better because I am bound to run into something like Smurgle or Amoonguss and just lose to status here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ho-Oh really, really helps with that. So yeah.
I mean, thinking about status, I mean, you have been playing around with Arcanine a little bit, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I used Arcanine a bit in recently, but that's for another day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, have we talked about everything there is to talk about this team then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Scrafty, Salamence, Gothitelle, Groudon, Ho-Oh, and Mawile. Here are the spreads, courtesy of Mr. Lajo. So there you go. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to do a few games on Showdown and join us on Thursday. Maybe we'll do just a few games on there, just seeing as we've done a report about this team now. And we'll see what the ladder on Showdown thinks to it. But thank you, Laia, for coming and showing off your team like this on my channel. So big thanks to you.
It was a pleasure.
And I hope you guys have enjoyed all of our talkings about the team. And I'm sure you will encourage people to go out and try it.
Yeah, sure. Go out and try out this team. It's a lot of fun, and you might want to use it on the big stage even. I
Yeah,
would
maybe.
be glad to
Yeah,
see
if you
my
go.
team.
I mean,
Yeah.
seeing as the battle spot is coming down for VGC, any replays on Showdown that you do, post them in the comments. Do love to see people using teams that I've used and my friends have used as well. So we'd love to see them if you do use this team.
Yeah. So enjoy and goodbye.
Yeah, thank you very much. Goodbye for now.
Bye.